Pretty much everything you see on the bike is CNC machined. My name is Leigh Richardson and I run the company Engrich Limited in Wellington. As part of our company, we've also been working on a project to build and develop a luxury road-going motorcycle. As far as CNC machining goes, my initial interest started when I was quite young at college. I guess this was in the late 80s, 90s, looking at all of the tool making side of CNC machining. I guess my first job at Interlock Group in Wellington was my first sort of chance to actually get into CNC machining. You actually get a chance to get onto machines and learn how to program and run machines. From there, I moved to the UK and worked for a company in London doing luxury consumer products for companies like Hugo Boss and Burberry. So that was a whole different type of work, doing small intricate parts in stainless steel and brass. We even machine gold and silver sometimes. So yeah, it's quite a range of different types of products. As far as the Engrich motorcycle goes, this project started about 22 years ago now. And initially it started as an engine design project, all based on a concept that one of the team members, John Appel, had for a fully balanced parallel twin. We thought, after seeing what John Britten had done building the Britten motorcycles, that we would give it a go and use all of our skills in engineering and toolmaking background to actually build our own engine initially, which then moved into building a whole motorcycle. We started out doing 5 or 6 years of design, and then we sort of got stuck because we didn't have any CNC machining capacity. So we had to develop our skills and knowledge and capacity in-house to actually be able to machine all the patterns, to be able to do the sand casting for the crankcases and get the engine underway. So that took about 10 years, and all during that time, obviously my role was changing. I was in different companies and different countries working for different people. One of the companies I worked at in London, I had access to a CNC machine in the weekends and after hours. So that was the initial step. I started to machine patterns for the crankcases after hours, and then they would get shipped back to New Zealand. We did that for about 3 years. So we actually had the lower crankcase and the cylinder heads cast before I actually returned. So when I came back, I actually managed to get a CNC machine out of the company I worked for, which restructured and sent that machine back to New Zealand, which is the small Kera CNC machine. So when I came back, we actually had a machine on the floor ready to start. Yeah, it's taken a long time because effectively it's only been 3 people during the whole project. We had to learn every skill along the way, from the casting to TIG welding to electronics, fuel injection, and some quite advanced surface modelling for things like the fuel tank. And then obviously, as far as the machining goes, pretty much everything you see on the bike is CNC machined. There's usually 300 or 400 parts that have been custom designed and built. The engine, the crankcases were done in sort of 2009, 2010. The design was underway in the early 2000s, so it's a long stretch, and that's the thing along the way. We've had to keep trying to make sure we're up to date and modern. The unique part of this bike is the engine, which is built from scratch, because nobody ever builds an engine. And also this engine has a special balance system which gives it perfect primary and secondary balance. And it's a system designed by an engineer 40, 50 years ago in the UK, which uses a third conrod, which has a tungsten balance weight. And that system was never implemented. And we saw that concept and decided that we'd actually engineer it into this bike, and it's worked very well. The engine, it's a 360 parallel twin, which would normally vibrate quite badly. Even with balance shafts, it's difficult to get good balance, and our engine is perfectly smooth. Yeah, so it's quite a unique, world first engineering balance system. As far as some of the challenges we faced with the CNC machining, is a number. The main frame of this bike is built from two pieces of large 80mm plate aluminium, which go all the way from the steering head right down to below the rear suspension. And that component was actually too large for our machine, so we had to stagger the part on the bed of the machine and machine it in two parts, just because the part was so large. So that was quite a challenging operation, especially when we're actually trying to run a business day to day and you've got a part set up for 3 or 4 days in the machine that you're trying to machine for a project with potentially no real commercial revenue in the short term. Some of the other challenges with the fuel tank, which is machined from billet aluminium. That's machined out of about 10 or 11 pieces of large aluminium blocks and then all TIG welded together. But the challenge with that is the parts, because they're 2.5mm wall thickness, you need to support the part very well. So we had to machine the inside of the aluminium block and then support it with a whole series of aluminium posts on a jig plate, which there's almost as much work in the jigging as there was in the machining of the part. And all of that process, there was nothing we could find of anyone else doing a tank that way, so we had to sort of invent and develop that process to get the parts we needed. It was quite strange the first time I started, because you're thinking about that day right through the project. When you first start it, it's never going to live up to the amount of time you spent on the project. It was amazing when it ran for the first time, but what it reinforced was it was all about the journey of the project. You're doing it for the enjoyment of the process and making each part. And one single event of starting the engine can never sort of make up for the amount of time you spent on the rest of it. Yeah, I guess as far as starting out from the word go, as a young person trying to get into CNC machining, find a company that's willing to support you in your journey to learn programming and learn about the CNC machine, and also giving you some ownership of the parts and the projects you get to work on, so that you can continue to develop and move, really advance yourself, I guess, because it never stops. The learning just goes on, and you keep finding things 10, 20, 30 years in that you've been doing wrong or you could improve on. So it's just finding the passion in a company where you can really push yourself.